A Michelin-plated restaurant has shuttered its doors in Valletta. The ATTARD local council has installed cameras in a public women's bathroom, and Robert ABELA rejects all names. Bernard GRECH proposed for the Broadcasting Authority chairperson. All this and more on Lovin Daily. Good evening, Malta and Gozo. Johnathan, Cilia here, joined by Diacono. It is Friday. I hope you're ready for a brilliant weekend. But before that, we've got some big stories we need to discuss with you. Tim?
Yeah, so today is quite a sad day for fine dining restaurant lovers. Mezzo di Valletta, Michelin plate awarded eatery in the heart of Malta's capital, has announced will be closing down, at least temporarily, due to the current market conditions that have been, of course, impacted by the COVID-19 pandemic and everything that's come from it. It's a very famous restaurant run by Michael and Chris Diacono. They're very well known in the catering industry in Malta. I know them personally. Obviously, I am related to them as well, and I know how passionate they are to the cause and how great their cooking is as well. They're not out of the industry at all by any stretch of the imagination. They still have Giuseppe's and Rubino, which are still up and running. But yeah, this goes to show that it's not easy. The catering industry is notoriously tough to operate in, especially now in the pandemic. It's made it a whole lot tougher. And yeah, this is the latest example. It wasn't the first, won't be the last.
Absolutely. No, when they announced that they were shuttering the doors temporarily, they said that this comes after a tough 2 years. But they said, hope is not lost. They are currently looking for a new venue, a new outlet to open up in again. So just a temporary closure. However, a lot of people took to Facebook, took to social media to kind of lament the closure. As Tim rightly pointed out, this is an after effect of the pandemic. Let's be very clear. Fine dining restaurants have a bit higher costs. Restaurants already work on a very razor-thin margin. But having a fine dining restaurant puts you, literally on the edge. Last thing you need is a pandemic. So hopefully we see them reopen soon. Clearly from the response online, they have a lot of supporters and the food is good. So we definitely need more of that in Malta. Moving on to the next story, quite an interesting story coming out from ATTARD. So a woman had actually reached out to us with footage and images of what seemed to be a camera installed in the public bathrooms, the public women's bathroom in ATTARD. Obviously, she was a bit shocked and a bit confused at this. Obviously, a bathroom isn't the kind of place you'd expect to see a camera. So we've reached out to the ATTARD local council and they said, listen, we have had to install cameras in there due to two reasons: vandalism and drug taking. Now, this is quite an interesting little aspect of Maltese life because pretty much every local town, local piazza has some public bathrooms, right? Sometimes they even have one person, a man or a woman, attending this bathroom. However, apparently the person isn't there at all times, and sometimes people do make it inside, vandalizing these public bathrooms or using drugs inside. So they've actually installed a camera, and they said the camera is not pointing at the inside of the cubicle, and they're actually planning on installing louvres at the top and the bottom of these cubicles to make sure that they have increased privacy. Now, this is a bit of an interesting story because this is not the first time this year that someone found a camera in a bathroom. Earlier this year, there was a story where someone had found a camera installed in another women's bathroom in Mater Dei. And that happened back in 2019, actually. And that wasn't by any local council or anything like that. So I can understand where the woman kind of got the concern from. However, in this case, this was on purpose by the ATTARD local council.
Well, obviously, you can imagine, you can understand the fact that people will feel extremely uncomfortable in the bathroom with this camera just gazing at them. It seems that there's pretty much nowhere you can go nowadays where there isn't some kind of camera or phone staring at you, and not even in a bathroom. I think the council needs to be very transparent about this. On a positive note, maybe that means it will allow them to have a toilet seat in the bathroom as well, because
we're hinting at a story that will be published this weekend, so do look out for that, especially if you're interested in the topic of toilet seats, as it were.
So moving on, interesting story. Franco De Bono has been proposed by the Nationalist Party as the chairperson of the Broadcasting Authority. So just a quick recap: as many people know, Franco De Bono used to be a Nationalist MP. He was very vocal towards the end of the last PN administration. He had a major falling out with Lawrence Gonzi, and he's kind of been on the sidelines since then. But Bernard Grech, the current leader of the Nationalist Party, has given a very clear sign that is willing to not just accept him, but welcome him back into the fold in some way or other by proposing him as the chairperson of the Broadcasting Authority. Now, this is extremely significant because the Bono was very, very critical of the way the nationalist administration had carried out broadcasting. If you remember, there was that very famous interview that turned into a debate with Norman Vella, where he began ripping into PBS and into the Broadcasting Authority, and he's an entire reform. So the fact that the PN is proposing someone like him to the BA doesn't only, I mean, it shows it definitely wants to build bridges with Franco de Bono, but also maybe it realizes about time that the broadcasting system needs to be fixed. This proposal was rejected by the Prime Minister, so he won't be the chairperson of the Broadcasting Authority, but at least it is a sign from the PN.
You know, what's interesting is, as you rightly pointed out, there's major baggage, a lot of historical context with Franco de Bono and the Nationalist Party. So the fact that Grech is not just inviting back in, but actually nominating for a really important position goes to show kind of how far the relations between the PN and Franco de Bono have come. In fact, de Bono himself actually posted online thanking Bernard Grech for the nomination. So, you know, would we be seeing Franco de Bono maybe taking a more significant role in the PN in the future?
Contesting an election.
Could be. But on the topic of rejection, and moving on to the next story, Malta's filmmakers are planning to boycott, at least some of them, the newly announced Malta Film Awards. So this is a bit of a controversy erupting in the Malta film industry. So recently, the Malta Film Commission announced the very first ever Malta Film Awards, a €400,000 one-night event showcasing and celebrating Maltese films and productions. However, a lot of Maltese filmmakers, even indie filmmakers, have, you know, kind of been outraged by some of the details included in this. Mainly the fact, among the main facts, is the fact that it cost €400,000 when, you know, the Valletta Film Festival, which was a very beloved and popular festival bringing some big names to Malta, was scrapped because it couldn't get €35,000 funding, whereas this event's getting €400,000 funding. So, you know, it's a big leap in the budgets. Apart from that, you know, people said that only people, you know, as it were, of the inner circles, Tal Alba, as we say in Maltese, are going to get an award or even be nominated. And, you know, among all these kind of allegations, a lot of prominent filmmakers have now said that they're going to be boycotting. I mean, yesterday on Lovin Malta, we had a whole analysis. We spoke to a few filmmakers as well. But, you know, Simshar's director, Rebecca Cremona, posted about it. The recent producer of Isrip, Reja Saro Velenuzi, Martin Bonici, posted as well about it, saying he won't be taking part in this. So it's a bit of a sad situation, honestly, because, you know, on one hand we have Malta's first ever film awards, but then you have filmmakers saying, listen, we don't actually need these film awards. We need funding for better films. We need more support and more training. What do you make of this?
I don't think they're saying they don't need the awards. I think, but they're saying that it's jarring, right? The amount of money that's being poured into these film awards, considering the lack of investment in the film industry. We're going to end up with a show that looks like the Oscars when their reality is anything but, you know, the Hollywood lifestyle. They're constantly struggling for funds, and there's this element of perceived unfairness and who gets the money and how. So at the end of the day, it's positive at the very least to see them fighting for their rights and not just staying silent. I was happy to see them going public, saying, look, I mean, it must hurt them, right? No one wants to boycott an awards night for your own industry.
First one ever.
The first one ever. I'm sure they don't want to do it. I'm sure a lot of them are doing it against, it's breaking their heart.
But listen, if you speak to a lot of filmmakers, they say we shouldn't even have an award show. I mean, one filmmaker we spoke to said, in Malta we don't have a film industry, we have a film scene. And in that kind of context, he believed very firmly that we shouldn't even have a film award show. He said, what value does a Malta Film Awards award have? It's
about pride. You know, we have awards for many things. We have journalism awards, we have SME awards, we have tech awards. It's a way of just looking back at what you've done and getting the industry together and awarding the best one. So I'm not against that at all. I'm glad to see it over there, but to see what Malta Film Awards happening. But yes, if there is this huge discrepancy, it doesn't make sense, especially you know, amount of money. So, but good to see people, and if you feel that it's an injustice, speak up about
Yeah.
it. Don't just stay silent about
And
it.
anyone watching this, do let us know in the comments below. You know, do you think Malta should have a Malta Film Awards, or do you think the money could be better served in another purpose?
And finally, a bit of a strange story. Residents of MARSAXLOKK were made to undergo the first ever emergency drill for a tsunami.
Wow.
So, okay, this isn't... They were basically told that at 10 a.m. that to get up, get out of their houses, onto the streets, move up to higher ground. And this was conducted by the Civil Protection Department in case, eventually, a tsunami does hit Malta. Now, there's no imminent fears of this happening. Don't panic, and either way. But it is interesting to see this happening. I wonder if it's going to be a feature now of every single town, right? Because if no one knows where a tsunami is going to hit, it doesn't make sense if just one town is prepared for it and then everyone else isn't.
Absolutely. I mean, listen, the climate change is a reality that we're facing, and right now there's the COP26 happening. You have global leaders discussing climate change as the best ways to, move forward on that issue. And we've seen renders, even Lovin Malta has renders of what a Malta underseas could look like if water starts rising, the water sea levels start rising. So I think it is a reality that we should be aware of and at least train for. So yes, MARSAXLOKK got it today. If you haven't seen the footage, you can find footage on Lovin Malta as well as our Instagram page. It was very eerie. This morning was very foggy. You had the siren blaring. You had like emergency workers running in the background. So if you didn't know what it was, if you didn't know it was a drill, you'd probably be very, very, very freaked out. But it was just a drill, and it's good to see that they are practicing, and maybe we'll see it happen in other key towns that might be affected by climate change in the future. On that note, I think that brings us to the end of today's episode. Both from myself and Tim, have an evening full of lovin'.